How's it going, guys? Thank you for joining me in video 2 of this 3-video series which I'm calling Rudiments of Fingerstyle. In the previous video we left it at playing the G major scale, descending and then ascending with a root note, which was the G root note in this case, in between, so on the offbeat between the notes of the major scale. If you feel that's something that you need to work on before taking on this video, please do look at that video. But in this video, we're going to be moving the thumb from string 6 to string 4 alternately. So we're going to be changing like this, which is a very common fingerstyle bass line, because we're essentially playing the role of a bass player with our thumb. And we're going to be playing the major scale as we have done previous, but just alternating that thumb between the G on string 6 and the D on string 4. Again, if you feel that this is going to be a little difficult for you, I really recommend checking out video 1 in this series, because we really do start at a basic level. But here we're really starting to get some in-depth, approaching intermediate fingerstyle really. So I just wanted to cover my principles and the principles that I use to play and teach fingerstyle, which will and may differ from other videos that you've seen or other players. With any rules or principles, there are people that break them, and that's totally fine. That's just a fact of music and a fact of life, I'm afraid. But with the way that I choose to play and teach fingerstyle guitar, firstly, I do not rest my pinky on the guitar at all. Some people do, and I no longer advocate, though I have in one of my videos in the past, resting the palm on the guitar here. The wrist, sorry, here. And the reason I used to rest my wrist all the time on the guitar is what I've learned, this is a habit of people who play the guitar stood up. So if you play electric or even acoustic guitar stood up a lot, it can be very comfortable resting your wrist here. The fingerstyle player John Gomm is an exceptional player from my neck of the woods here in the north of England as well. And he plays with the wrist all the time, you know, planted here an awful lot, and hits the guitar and does all sorts of cool stuff, but plays mainly stood up. If you're sat down, this can really, really hamper your progress. But I choose not to teach or play with the little finger anchored here, as many amazing fingerstyle players do. So what do I advocate? I highly advocate, if you are sat playing acoustic guitar for as long as we need to practice, to make progress as we practice, to sit in a chair that has good lower back support and angles your legs so it's a little bit angled towards the knee but still fairly flat, okay? Certainly not normally like this, or not too angled like this. So you need good lower back support. And also we're going to raise the right leg and wedge the guitar right in at the hip. So between your lower back and the guitar being wedged in at the hip, the guitar is already fairly stable. And the way that we make it even more stable is by wedging it in at the inner elbow. And then I can actually hold the guitar in place without having to hold it with my hands, which frees me up to move all around the neck totally freely without having to hold the guitar like this, but also move the right hand totally free and without being restricted by being anchored at any point. So a recap through exercise 5 of this series, and the tab for this and everything in this series is free on the website just here, is as follows. As we did in the previous one, when we cycle this, we're going to play the last note twice. and the highest note also twice when we begin again. So if we listen to this for a second. You can hear I play that last note twice, and when we cycle it, that really makes it a lot easier. And if you don't do that, you could find this even more challenging than it needs to be. I really feel it's important, and there's a crucial extra step there which will make this journey a lot easier for you. So let's just have a recap. We're playing the third finger in the bass, and we're just staying on a G chord essentially for all of this, and we're playing the G major scale in the fashion that we looked at, not using that third finger. And when those things are worked through in the fashion that we've done here, most of you should be able to do it. The next step, therefore, is to take away that extra note that we're adding at the end when we get to the lowest note of the major scale and at the highest one. So that turns this into this. That may not look any different really, but when you play it, it will feel totally different because we're suddenly putting you off kilter or to the opposite with the thumb. The thumb is sort of on the opposite beat now, so it feels a little odd. Even though it's not the thumb that's changed, it's the melody that now cycles around. If you pause this video now and give that a go, you're going to find it a challenge, but again, this is the opportunity to iron out those kinks in your playing in a very incremental manner and really dive into this and really gain an awful lot of skill. So just to recap, everything is exactly the same, alternating thumb, but when we get to here, we just don't play that same note again, we go straight on and loop one more time. What we're now going to play is that same scale, so the G major scale, and with everything we do in this whole series, we're going to be playing the G major scale, but now we're going to cover it with the C chord. Now, as I've been doing this exercise, I keep my middle finger down on this G chord as we're playing this, because the next chord is going to be a C chord, and we're now going to have a look at how to play that same G major scale with the C chord, or the root note of a C, and the next string down. So if we just play a normal C chord now, entirely standard way of playing a C chord, we don't need the first finger, we don't really need the thumb on top though. If that doesn't hamper you, that's fine. You may wish to have the thumb a little bit lower to keep everything ringing out, but I find it comfortable to play like this because I have enough curl in my fingers right at the end of the fingers on the tips for this not to be an issue. And then we play that exact same G major scale that we learnt right at the start of the series, but with the root note and then the next string down, so string 5 and 4 of a C chord. And that was exactly what I played at the start of this video and right at the start of all this series, going between the G major scale with a G chord and then changing to that C chord and changing back. as I say, this series of videos has really increased in difficulty at a much greater pace than I would normally do in my videos if you've been following them for a little while. But this is so effective at really blasting through some brick walls if you really persevere with it and practice it in the correct manner, have the correct amount of patience, but also have vigilance with your playing. Don't let those mistakes become solidified in your playing. You know, practicing is just solidifying whatever it is you're practicing, really. It doesn't just mean you get better. So that's something to watch out for. And then the real trickiest thing will be the change between the G and the C. And I really advise giving that some width for now. Don't go for it. Do the G major as we just have already done, which is exercise 6. Cycle that twice or maybe even 4 times, and then change to the C chord, and then the same thing but with the C chord. And change back to the G, or cycle the C, but we could change back to the G there. It's only when you've really got that down that these two lift off, when that little finger's gone down, and move to the C chord. So that is the end of part 2 of this little mini-series on fingerstyle. If you need more help, if you want exactly what to practice to get you up to this level because you feel your picking hand or your knowledge or something just isn't quite working, then my new fingerstyle course will be released in the next few days, and could even be released already as you're watching this video on YouTube. 3 DVDs with some easy songs as well on DVD 3, and a book to go with it with all the tab and all the exercises written out clearly. I really recommend that, you know, if you're struggling, if you want to know everything that I know about fingerstyle up to this level, it is in here, and the link to that will be in the description in the top corner, or on my website at andyguitar.co.uk. Or you can check out video 3 of this Rudiments of Fingerstyle that's free here on YouTube, and I will see you in another one of my videos.